I'm going to go ahead and kick us off tonight. Thank you for those that have joined us. Looks like we have 8 folks online right now. Hopefully that adds up as we go along. Look, there we go. We've got 9. So thanks again for joining us tonight. Just a couple of updates. The user group meetings will be virtual for the next couple of months at least. We will update folks if that changes, because we definitely like meeting in person and networking. So thanks again for everybody joining tonight for our session, intro to Power Virtual Agents. I'll flip it over to Daniel in a second here. Just a couple of things to point out. Recently, we created our a new YouTube channel. You can see the link up on the screen right now. So if it's something you want to check in on a video, a past meeting that we had, we have 5 up there now. Tonight's meeting should go up there tomorrow or the next day once we've done some trimming on it for you to view as well. So kind of stay tuned for that. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and flip it over to Daniel. Go ahead and share your screen now, Daniel.
All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. Share. It's going to be screen 1. Switch. You'll take that out. All right, doing a quick mic check. You can hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Perfect. All right. Hey, everyone. This is Daniel, and today we are doing an introduction to Power Virtual Agents. So for those of you, who don't meet, I'm a Microsoft MVP. I focus on the business solutions, and one of the things I do is I do a lot of blogging. So if you go to YouTube and you just type in Daniel Christian Power Apps, you'll find all my channels. I highly recommend that you subscribe. That way, if anytime I put a new stuff in, you can already get a note for that. I do want to apologize. My neighbor decided to mow just 5 minutes ago, so if you hear that, my apologies. All right. In addition to what Corey already mentioned, a lot of events are getting canceled or postponed. So as of this morning, this is the list I was able to get. Several Ignite World Tour events have been either postponed or canceled. A lot of SharePoint Saturday events have also been postponed. If you actually go to the SPS events over there, there's all the ones that are listed over here. SharePoint Fest in DC. I mean, there's Andy on the call. He knows more about SharePoint Fest. That one was already canceled. MBAS didn't get canceled, but it is going virtual. And then the SharePoint Conference North America did get canceled as well. So there's a lot of this going on. All right, so let's talk about introduction to Power Virtual Agents. So just to give us an overview, Power Virtual Agents is basically to empower your users with conversational AI. And that's basically the whole idea for Power Virtual Agents, but it is to use anywhere from no to low code. So that's the key thing over there. So a little bit about the Power Virtual Agents from its, it was introduced back in Ignite of 2019. Ignite 2019 was, I think, back in October. So it's been out for a while. And it is built entirely on the Power Platform and Azure Bot Service. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. I did want to point this out that at the Ignite, they gave some good demos of how True Green, the company, is actually using it. And in the demonstration that they showed over there, and I highly recommend you go and look at that video, because True Green leveraged the entire Dynamics 365, using the Power Virtual Agents or PVA was one of the things, is to put it on the front end for a bot system to talk to the customer, get either answer the simple questions out of the bat, or either transfer it over to another agent. So that was a really good demo over there. But about and the reason True Green did that was because of these complex challenges. And this is statistics not just from that company, it's statistics taken across a very broad spectrum over there. And that spectrum basically gives these numbers, is that 66% of companies try to use self-service first rather than contacting an agent for assistance over there. And that can sometimes be challenging because 90% of customers expect consistency and continuity across channels. And so those numbers really don't align over there. And that's the thing, 59% of the channels are managed in silos. So these 3 numbers, if you actually sit and look at them, they're not aligning with each other, because 66 does self-service over there, but at the same time, they're not leveraging all the features. However, there is still requirement for consistency, but that consistency isn't working, again, because of channels working in silos over there. So that is where Power Virtual Agents comes into picture, not for the sake of automating the process, but also for the sake of being consistent, because it is always the same chatbot, and the same chatbot is always answering the same set of, answering with the same set of answers and following a very simple protocol in a very smart way. So a couple of things which I really like about the points that I mentioned over here is these ones over here. The very fact that it democratizes the AI or the artificial intelligence pieces over there. It continuously improves, and I'll be showing some demos on that over there as well. And it is able to take those actions. But my personal favorite from all these over here is the concept of democratizing the AI, because of the no need for developers or data scientists over there. But the key thing is being consistent, and that always helps, because then those three numbers that we saw, the statistics, they can actually start going up and down in the right direction and really making it a lot more sense over there. So this is one of the questions that people have asked me, is that, Dan, we know PVA is out, it's supposed to be really cool, and they've seen, many people who are on this call or will see this video know that PVA is cool, but they want to hear it from me. So why are you interested in Power Virtual Agents? Now, if any of you who have already subscribed to my videos, or you've gone and seen my videos, almost 4 years ago, I did a video on how to use Q&A Maker, question and answer over there. And it was, excuse me, it was actually pretty good. Absolutely no code, a lot of copying and pasting or getting links, but it was a little clunky, and it took a lot of training, because the bot wasn't that smart of a chatbot. So I worked with Q&A Maker for a while. Then I upgraded that to Lewis, language understanding. Now Lewis was a lot more smarter than that, but it took a little bit more to train Lewis as well. Not more as in a lot more work, but it took for you to kind of, if you're doing Q&A Maker to Lewis, it's a jump, it's a step up, and you need to kind of train yourself and educate yourself to do that. So after having worked with both of those and figuring them out, then I started playing with Power Virtual Agents, and I've been doing that for about 3 months now. I personally, started working on that in around December time. I immediately fell in love with not just the flexibility of how it is, but the ease of how our Power Virtual Agent works over there. So that's basically my, one of the big things over there. So before I jump into more, I want to go through a few more slides. What I want to do is I want to actually pause over here, and let's actually go in to Power Virtual Agents. So what I've done over here is in my screen sharing, I've just logged into my Office 365 just as myself. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Power Virtual Agents.microsoft.com. And I wanted to do this walking along with you all, at least show it to you that if you are doing this for the first time as well, with starting in free, then this is what the process is. So that's why I have a fresh tenant over here, and I'm going to walk you through it so that you can basically see how this is going on. So I'm going to now attempt to first sign in. And when I try to sign in over here, excuse me, it automatically took my email address, and that's why I already had logged into the Office 365 over here. So it goes ahead and grabs that, says, I'm good, go ahead and get sign up. It says, you already have an account with us, and that's already good. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in with the existing password. All right, and then it goes ahead and creates it. So it's creating, it's almost there. Sometimes it comes up and asks you for authentication twice, and it might just do that over here, or it might just go in. So that's why what I was saying, the authentication, which was the sign-in part, it does come up twice, but this will only happen once. And again, this is all in the earlier phases of Power Virtual Agents. So, this type of things won't happen again. But I wanted to kind of clearly walk you through the entire process. And that's why I just took a pause from my slides and I showed it to you over here. So we're going into the Power Virtual Agents over here. And there's a few things that I want to show you right over there. All right, so it's logging in. And it is loading. And it's first going to ask you for a bot. So I'm going to say Kazu. Yeah, let's put it Kazu. And now here is the one place I need you to kind of focus on. So what's happening is right here, you see that right now, as it stands, it's giving you the option to give the bot a name, which is fine because it's my demo tenant. But people who already have started using the Power Platform and they have different environments, you need to click on this more options over here, and you need to pick and choose your environments. I did bring this to the product group's attention. I said that you've got to make that mandatory somehow, because what will happen is by default, everybody's putting their bots in that dev environment over there. So whether they accept that or not, it's up to them. But I want you as an end user to be available, to be aware of this. So remember, give it a bot name, come over here to more options, and then you pick and choose your bot's environment. In this tenant over here, dev tenant of mine, I only have one environment, which is the Contoso default one. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And now I'm going to go ahead and create it. Now, it's going ahead and creating the bot. Right now, in this phases, it can take anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. It has taken me up to 15 minutes for this entire process to go through. That's why I paused at that slide deck and I came in and did over here. Once this is done, we'll go through a couple of other things over here. But now, for now, let this thing do its job. When we'll jump back to the slides over here. Okay. See, it actually, if you noticed, let's go back over here. We are still building a bot. It could take up to 15 minutes. So, all right. Come back over here to my switch. So, why am I interested in the bots over here? For the fact that I gave you the explanation, but these other things is chatbots can help, but there's a couple of few things. Bots are, I'll be admitting, me as a no coder or a low coder, it is hard to create and it can get expensive to maintain. The simple facts that that even though after you put in all this work, it can be absolutely useless if you cannot integrate the back end of it or provide personalized answers of it. And if it's a lot of work to go ahead and constantly keep it updated, because it's not the framework of how the bot works, it's also that the data is providing. If there's a lot of interaction, a lot of code work constantly to make that bot provide all the answers, then it's really not that effective. It really doesn't have any productivity over there. But the PVA, or the Power Virtual Agent, takes care of all of that, and I'll be demoing that to you as well. The other thing is that the Power Virtual Agents, or PVA, is literally designed for everyone. It helps your customers because it's the first line of customer service. It helps the subject matter experts. You use the subject matter experts to get that information directly, and it also helps with the IT admins to now actually take some of that information or that work. You do all the things that the IT admin has to do, and then you hand that over to the subject matter experts. This means it's like, hey, not only am I just going to assist you, but you're going to actually do the whole thing. You're going to actually build the bots, because that's how easy PVA is over there. Now, let's step forward a little bit and look at the entire Power Platform. Now, as you know, that the Power Platform family is what I like to call it, has always been first with Power BI. I always joke as Power BI is the big brother because it was the first one. Then came the other two siblings, right? Came with the Power Apps, came with the Power Automate, and then as of the last Ignite, came Power Virtual Agents. Now, it's very interesting, and actually some of the slides that I have over here, I literally took it from the Ignite sessions because I like the way they've explained it. The Power Virtual Agent leverages the entire bot framework system over here. So even though things such as the Q&A maker, language understanding, or Lewis over there was a little bit of work for us to do, the whole concept of using the Power Virtual Agent automatically takes care of that to you. PVA leverages all of this that I've actually shown you in the slide deck over there, but now it is no longer you who is going in and doing all of this manually. You're just doing the simple no-code work over there, the training piece, and the teaching piece of it. On the back end, the bot framework automatically goes ahead and makes all the connections in the right places, leverages all the services, and automatically uses it. So the important thing is that it's not something very new. It is literally using the same services and the same APIs, and it works really well over there. So I really like this combination that they've explained over here, and this is helpful for you as well, because it's actually like a pyramid structure over here. The base is always Azure Cognitive Services, and it's integrated with all of these cognitive services. And that little slide deck, or the image that you see on the right, is just a smaller version of what we just looked at. Then comes the Azure Bot Service. Now, Azure Bot Services has its own set of connections with the bot framework over there. Next over there, sitting on all of those bot services, is the Power Platform, which has to do with the initial three family members, Power BI, Power Automate, and Power Apps. But on top of that, and by the way, the Power Platform over here uses now these hundreds, which we officially know now. There's over 300 connectors over there, pre-built connectors, and that's what these three use over there. But sitting on top of that Power Virtual Agents is the whole, sitting on top of the entire pyramid is Power Virtual Agents. And I really like the way this illustrates the ability of PVA, because it has access to leverage all of these other services, on which it sits over there. So I kind of wanted to kind of show you that whole concept, because this is literally how the Power Virtual Agent sits. That yes, it is a member of the family, but if you think about it from a service standpoint, it's actually the top of the pyramid, because it sits. The Power Virtual Agents goes ahead and leverages things such as Power Automate, and it also uses all these other bot services on which which is actually built into cognitive services over here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go now spend some time building our very first bot together, and I'm actually going to show you two types of bots. One of them is us going ahead and building the bot obviously from scratch, and we'll just put in a lot of text. Basically, it's going to be questions and messages, and we'll put in some conditions, and build that first PVA bot, because that's like a good lesson one for you. But I'll also switch gears, and I'll show you a pre-built bot that I have, because a pre-built bot is also leveraging Power Automate, and that's the second part which I was talking about, is that you build the entire framework of the Power Virtual Agent, and then after that, the bot is fully functional. The only thing that you go and update is the content at the back. Is what is the questions, what is the answers? Those are the type of things over there.
Hey,
so
Daniel.
Now, yeah, go ahead.
Real quick. We have a question. Can PVAs be copied between tenants?
Oh, good question. Hold on to that, because I've actually got that as a couple of in the Q&A that I'm doing at the end. I've already got a couple of questions. Long story short, right now we can't do that. That's the answer. But that's a good question. I would say hold on to your questions, unless if it's something right what I'm doing over there, go ahead and ping me. But what I might do is I'll just answer directly over there. But I've actually kept a section in the end, because this is the fourth time I'm teaching about this. People have asked me a lot of questions. Some of the questions you may not have even thought of. I'm even going to tell you these questions over there. So yeah, Corey, to answer that person, long story short, you cannot do that across environments or tenants. You can't do a package and export, package and import yet. But hey, MBAS is in only about 2 months, so we'll see what new announcements they make over there. Okay, so let's see. So it came bot created. You can now use Power Virtual Agents with full functionality. So that's good. And as you can see, I've done this a few times. That's why I knew to pause, go get the bot built over there, and then come back over here. So now you'll see that I've got a new bot, and I've selected that as our Kazoo over here. So now that we've got the bot, we are in Power Virtual Agents. Let's actually spend a few minutes looking at what is going on over here. So first thing is topics. When you start building, start working with Power Virtual Agents or PVA and start getting comfortable with it, you're going to get very familiar with topics over here. And this is basically what it is. Topics is what are the topics, what topics of questions are being asked over here. Great examples are things such as over here, greeting, escalate. So what we'll do is let's actually click on one. And it says, what is the trigger phrase that starts the discussion? Simple things such as, hey, good morning, good afternoon, hello, agent, things like that. These simple triggers are already pre-built for you. I mean, look at all these topics that are already added over there. This, the pre-built, almost like a template functionality was a big eye-opener for me, because none of this was available in Q&A Maker, none of this was available in Lewis. You literally had to build things from scratch, and they've already build the foundation over here for you. Just as a side note, if you're getting familiar with this, I personally recommend going through all these 4 lessons. Go through, click on the simple one over here, lesson number 1, and just see how it works over here. What were the trigger faces over here? Next thing is that you go into the authoring of the canvas. Authoring sometimes may sound a little confusing, is what is authoring of the canvas, but this is basically where the entire logic happens in the backend, is how does the bot function in the backend. And that's basically what this is over here. So lesson 1 to 4 was a great place to start. There's no teaching for this available over here, but if you're a self-taught person like I am, and most of this is very intuitive, you just go and see, okay, this is the trigger phase. What's the message? Messages that are asked. These type of things really come in handy over here. If you do want some training, I've actually got 2 detailed videos on that. In fact, a lot of it is what I'm already showing you over there. But if you want to go back and look at it, you'll find them in my YouTube video over there. So that's on topics over here. Suggested topics is something that we will look at. This was actually the same concept over here was even available in Lewis. It was available in Q&A as well. And that is the whole concept of scrapping data. And I'll show you a demo on that. In fact, let's just go and do that. As we all know, right now, the key discussion which is going on is about the coronavirus. So what I thought was, instead of me coming up with this, an example of, oh man, what do I do with build a bot? I'm actually going to build a bot for you, the first bot, to go ahead and build simple questions of, hey, if you're sick, then what to do if you're sick, or how to take care if you're carrying this. That bot is going to actually take and help answer this. So what I did was I came to this a CDC website over here, and I'm going to, the first section I came to is that if you're sick, then I came to what to do if you're sick, and in what to do if you're sick page, there's already all this information over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the URL over here, and I'm going to go back to our bot place, and I'm going to paste the URL. I mean, I'm not doing any, cleaning up of the URL. It's basically just, excuse me, copy and paste. I'm going to add it. Adding it means I can actually go ahead and do a lot, put some more URLs over here, and it'll go ahead and create those topics for you. But for now, I'm just going to click on start. And what it does is it says, getting your suggestions, this may take several minutes. The several minutes all depends on how much, URLs you put over there, but we'll let it do its thing. Once it finishes, you'll actually come over here and we'll kind of do a side-by-side comparison. Is that, okay, what type of data did PVA pull as against what's the data over here? All right, so let it do its things. Meanwhile, we'll actually look at a couple of other things. So the next thing I want to talk about over here is this option called entities. Now, if those of you who are Power Apps and Power Platform users, when you hear of entities, the first thing that comes to mind is CDS. So the question I get is this the same thing as a CDS entity? And the answer to that is yes and no. Yes, because it is a CDS entity. The data is stored in the CDS over here, the same form of adding a new entity over here, but it doesn't connect to any of your existing CDS in any of these environments. And that was actually one of the first big asks that I heard from a lot of people, is that, Daniel, this is kind of great that I'm putting data in CDS, but this is a lot of work. Because right now, if I go ahead and go to my own workplace, I'm logging into my work subscription, I log into my own Power excuse me, Power Platform login over here. I already have an entity, an environment, and I log into, and I'm building a bot in that same environment. Why am I not seeing all my entities, which I know exist in that environment? And that is a great question, because it would be so helpful that I don't have to redo that. So that the product group has actually taken that feedback. They are aware of it. What they're going to do about that, again, let's wait till Embass and we'll see what happens over there. But for right now, even though you have to pick and choose which environment you're going into, what happens is the entities that already exist in those environments, they don't show up over here. So you just have to add in. But the entities is the exact same concept as CDS entities over here. Excuse me. Now, I'll talk a little bit about channels. Excuse me. All right, back. Throat got dry. And also, it's pre-allergy season for me, pre-season allergies. So this is not the COVID virus. It is just me and allergies over here. All right, don't freak out. By the way, we're all virtual. All right, so the channels, the authentications, and the skills, we'll hit that at the end once we've built an app. In fact, I'll show that to you in a demo over here. But let's go back to our topics piece over here. Okay, so it went ahead and said, I have created 3 new topic suggestions for you. Now remember, we went ahead and put this URL, right? And if you just scroll through, it basically sets steps to help prevent the spread of the virus if you're sick. There's a couple of questions subsections in over here that if you are what these are the steps that you can use to prevent, and what are the options? Stay home, except to get medical care, separate yourself, go ahead and call ahead before visiting. That's the URL I put in. So there's a lot of data and information over here. But now that I just added the URL, let's see what PVA pulled. So in the suggested ones, PVA actually only picked up these 3 over here, which is not that bad because see how it picks it up. It went ahead and added that in, and it says that, hey, if your trigger faces what to do if you're sick, then it went ahead and put in all the information, and it even went ahead and gave me the link to that PDF. So if you see on the bottom left, that link comes in. And again, it's me coming from that Q&A maker and the Lewis maker. When I see this type of functionality to scrap it, this is fantastic. Because granted, it didn't pick everything up, but even whatever it picked it up, it did a really nice, clean job of doing it. Just check it out. I mean, the text is so clean too. Follow the steps. It is all bold over there, nicely put in all of this information. So the reason I wanted to show that was that this flexibility is also there to go ahead and actually build, get topics already, information getting it over here. And this will be really useful for your company at your work, because say you have a frequently asked question FAQ website, which is just simple. It may not be even this complicated as we see on the CDC website. The simpler the site with just questions and answers, it's going to pick up those suggestions so much more cleaner, and so many of those, those topics over there. So I intentionally put a fairly detailed URL over here to kind of prove to you that this is pretty smart, and not only does it pick up and give you some way HTML code type of a thing. No, it does a really good job cleaning up, giving you rich text and all the information over here. But you know what? We're not going to be lazy. I'm actually going to go ahead and create a new topic. And let me just put this information over here. I'm going to create a new topic, and I'm going to call that topic as, what to do if you are sick. All right, I'll just put that in as a topic over here. And now we need to put in a few phrases. So I'll just do it here. Trigger phrases. Now the trigger phrases, you literally want to follow the rules over here. It's just try to start with 5 to 10 diverse phrases. So here's some examples that I have. Okay, I'm gonna actually just do some copying and pasting. So the first one I'm gonna put in is help. I can hit enter. I think I have COVID-19. Do that. Just to go ahead and give the bot variety. That's the key thing. You give it a lot of variety. What I say variety is what it means by diverse phrases over here. The more you are training the bot, the more smarter and much more effective it is going to be. So kind of keep that in mind. And again, I'm always, I don't want to be on the middle side. I don't want to give it too much information. So I'm going to give it around, 8 trigger phrases. So that's the kind of information they're doing. I'm just doing a lot of copying and pasting over here. Giving variety, basically, that's what it is. All right, and that will be my last one. And I'm going to go ahead and save the topic. All right, topic is saved successfully. So we've gone ahead and created our first thing is done. We've saved the topic over there. It is going to go ahead and save it. And the next thing is we're going to go in and we're going to start doing some training part of it. So I'm going to let it finish over there. Take a sip. Now, a couple of things we've seen over here. It says status error over here. So let's see what this error is. Now, the error is basically, and this is something that I've noticed right off the bat. You did not do anything. What it was doing is when you came to the page to do the testing, it was smart enough to even see that, hey, there's a trigger added over here, which means the first thing is going to be a message. But the message was empty, and it automatically picked that up as, its topic checker picked that up as an error. So we didn't do anything wrong. It was pretty much trying to be one step ahead of us. We made that mistake, right? So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back away here. So you see that this is the step we stopped at. As we went and put in the topic, we went and put in the trigger faces, phrases, and now I'm going to go to authoring canvas. And this is basically what happened. When I clicked on that error, it took me right over here, but I just wanted to show it to you that this is literally how you come in. So now you got to think it through. Think of this literally as a Visio diagram. Is that okay? I have trigger phases. Now, how do I want the flow of this bot to work? So I'll kind of walk you through an example over here. That if this is the trigger phrase, basically a user. I mean, just put yourself in the shoes of this user, right? The user is coming and saying, "Hey, I'm sick." What is the first thing you, as that sick person, would like a bot to hear? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put in some text that I pre-typed. And as you will, hey Corey, can you hear me?
Hey, you're good.
Okay, I just got a message on my Teams that bad network quality, so I just was double checking. Thanks. Okay. So I'm going to put in this. I literally did a copy and paste. This copy, and just for your knowledge sake, I'm doing, have these texts in my OneNote. So there is a little bit of text formatting that I've done over here, and it actually takes that text formatting with it and puts it directly over here. So the first question that it's asked, and I've said that based on whatever I put over here, the triggered phrases. The first thing that the bot does is it gives you a message. It says that, hey, call your doctor if you think that you've been exposed to the COVID-19 or the virus, and develop a fever, blah 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 blah. Go ahead and do that. But we'll also be a little bit more proactive. So what we're going to do is we'll actually come here on the plus. We're going to ask a question, and the question we're going to do is here are a few things that you should consider. Okay, and even though that doesn't sound like a question, it just sounds like a statement. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch out of them. I'm going to keep it at the multiple choices options, even though you have a bunch of them over here, and we will actually, put in the user's entire response. I'll do that in the other demo, but we'll just scroll down and see that these are all of them that are here. In fact, if you notice, these were entities that you can actually go ahead and pull them over here as well, giving them all these options and availables. But for right now, we're going to do the multiple choice options. So the two options that I'm going to do is things to consider is what to do when you're sick, okay? And then the next option is caring for yourself at home. So but technically, this is kind of like a question, is that it's asking you, hey, instead of me saying that, which one of these would you like some information on? Do you want to know information on what to do if you're sick? Or do you want to know what to do, how to care for yourself at home? Technically, it is a question, but I'm just giving the end user more information. I want to pause over here and kind of show that this is the question, this is the response, but which one did the user select? That information of which item was the user selected was actually saved in a variable, and this is the variable. In fact, it actually tells you, it says save response as, and this variable. So I'm going to click over here, and it gives me this option. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to make that give a variable some information. I say, what variable was this over there? And knowing me, I don't have much imagination. So I'm just going to say things to consider variable, because that's literally, that's what it says, things you should consider. So things to consider variable, and I'm just going to, and watch this, because I didn't, zooming in a little bit. this I gotta pause and brag about this, because this was so sweet, right? I went ahead and added two options. It automatically created two drop downs and applied them to as conditions. That, hey, if this variable's value is this that you selected, then here's the next set of flow that you do over there, or conditions that you do over there. But if it is a second variable, then here's a second in a set of variables conditions you do over there. It is so intuitive and so smart that it already takes care of the next steps for you. So if I would have actually gone ahead and added something, see, I just clicked on it and automatically created that. I also like the user interface work that it is done over here, because it's actually really nice and clean. So Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to change that to things to consider variable. Done. And watch, when I click on done, you see that variable and their variable, it'll also get updated automatically. It is smart enough and it is very user friendly. That's the other things that I like over here. All right, so let's connect. One of the things I do is I keep saving. That's just in my nature. So, things to consider. What do you do if you are sick? I'm going to let me consider. Okay, I'm going to actually things over here. Things to consider. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to actually just give it a message. All right. This is what you need to do. Actually, it's not over here. I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to ask a question. I just show a message. All right. And here I'm going to do some copying and pasting. Basically, I'm just going to say, you need to do the following things. And I just, to save some time, that's all I did. I just did a copying and pasting. Interesting, it didn't paste all the way. Let me make sure I got the whole thing. Here, copy, paste. It didn't take a paste. Let me delete that. Show a message. Interesting. All right, so what I was going to say was things you need to consider are the following. And let's see if I can try that over here. There you go. That's what it worked. You need to do the following: stay home. Again, stay home, expect to get medical care, and then separate yourself. Basically, this is what it was. I think now it went ahead and did the double pasting. Save yourself from other people in the house. This is known as a home isolation. Things, blah blah blah. I did a lot of copying and pasting to go ahead and kind of give some information. But the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add a condition. Not condition. Not over here. I'm going to ask a question, and in the question I'm going to say, do you need more information? All right, and I'm going to leave it at multiple choice over here. Change the variable to more information variable. Okay, and I'm going to start by saying yes. And I'm going to say no. And if you noticed how below me over here, when I did that, it went ahead and added all this information. So for yes, I am going to now provide some options. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually now say in the more information, I'm actually going to, based on the conditions, I'm actually going to put it as a question and says select the item that you're interested in. And here I'm going to put in some more information. Okay, that wear a mask. I'm just taking some examples over here. And if you notice below it, see how this is happening over here? Very intuitive, very user friendly. So I just took some examples over here. And now over here, for each of those conditions, I'll go ahead and quickly put in some text. We'll just show a message, and let's go and just grab all that information from that website. So stay home, expected to get medical. Let's see. Yep, I'm gonna copy this over here straight away. See how the text came in nice and clear? Same thing, wear a face mask if you're sick. I'm going to show a message. And same thing, that's all I'm doing is I'm just doing a copy and paste over here. Now that if you notice that if you would have done it, like the process I showed before, you wouldn't even have to do it this convoluted way because you would have already had all the data coming in. But we'll, that's for a much more detailed kind of a PBA. All right, so show a message, and I'll just put in The last two, cover your coughs and sneezes. Oops. And then clean your hands. Show a message. Now, if you've noticed in this bot that we are building, it's actually a pretty simple bot based on everything, all the detail, all the information is all static text that we're putting over here. This is the first, out of the box example that I'm showing you over here. That's why I did it this way. It's static text. So, if you're building something which doesn't need a lot of editing, this would be the easier way to do it. The next example that I'm going to show you how you can leverage Power Automate, that would be a much more dynamic way to build a bot, where we've already built the bot framework, the logic over here. And so anytime in the future, if just the data needs to be updated, you don't even have to edit the bot or make changes over here, like come over here and actually change the text. You just go and change it, the data part of it, and I'll show you that in a minute. Here is where things get a little interesting. All right, so all four of them are done. They are, the bot gives you this information, but after this, I want to put in a condition, and I want to say that, hey, do you have any other question? Like over here, I'm going to come in and I'm going to add a condition, and the condition based on not the condition. Come on, Daniel, delete. I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to do is ask a question, and the question is, did this answer your question? I'm just going to say yes. I'm going to say no. But if you notice, if you're already thinking, so Daniel, do I need to add the same thing all of those places? Because that's me. Like every single time I add a more message, I'm going to have to do this again and again. I got to replicate this, and the answer to that is no. What you do is you tie it in. So you basically click on that, and then moment you hover on that mouse, hover on that circle over there, you click on it, and you pull that over here. You tie it in. I did tell the product group is that, guys, that is not very intuitive, because right now if I take this and if I clicked on it and I'm trying to drag it, nothing shows up. You got to actually click on it, and then once you click on it, don't go and click on any of the options. Just click on that dot over there, and you touch that and pull that in. I think this is just one of those things where you practice it a few times, you'll get it. It may not seem very user-friendly right off the bat, but that's with everything, right? You're learning it for the first time, and now that I've shown you how to do it, you'll adopt this even faster. So once again, the trick is click on it. Don't click on any of these options. Just click on that circle or the dot over here and connect it. And that's basically how it is. It's that simple. Now what I'm going to do is I'll actually make this a little bit more simple. Is if the question we add is, did this answer your question? If it answered the question, then we are done with this discussion over here. So I'll just come in and I'm going to end the conversation, and I'll say, end with the survey, and you will see what that survey means over here. Now, if you also notice, there were two options: end with the survey, transfer to the agent. Transfer to the agent is kind of the next step, where right now the only option available for transfer to the agent is using a Dynamics 365 connector, which will take you to another chat system, or even potentially a phone call system. That's the only connector that's available. It's Dynamics 365. Down the road, they're going to open up more options to see what other chat, how you transfer it from the bot to the user. There'll be more options, but right now that's the only option is the Dynamics option over there, right? But here is, I don't know why I put it no, it should be no. All right, so if it is no, what I'm going to do is, if it is no, then we've got to take this person back again. And so the way I was working on this logic is that if it is no, I need to give this user an opportunity to come back and ask some of these questions again. Because think about it, first time the user came in, they may have come in and said that, do I need more information? Yes. They clicked on the more information, and they must have just come and said, I'm going to see what the bot has to say, or get more information about stay home. Wearing a face mask, right? So all the wearing the face mask information was provided over here. Saw this information. But now he or she, the end user, wants to get more information about cover your coughs and sneezes. So I need a way to loop this from here back up again. And this is how you do it over here. The loop actually is part of lesson number 3. If you remember in the beginning, I showed you those lessons over there. It's in lesson number 3. But there's actually no documentation which tells you click over here and then you click over there, which is why I built those 2 very detailed videos. But I'm going to show it to you right now as well. I will admit it's a little getting used to, and you'll see why. So there's 2 ways I've tried it. It's always the source and the destination. So right now the the source is here. We are at this point where the user said, no, I'm not done yet. I need more information. So I want to take it from here and go up to right. I want to start right over here. So let's start by first clicking this place. And I want you to kind of understand that once you clicked that, that is the start. So don't, kind of, once you clicked over here, you've got to go and figure out the next place where you want to click. And our next place is going to be right over here. It's right over here. And for me personally, the first time doesn't work because I don't even understand this logic. I mean, something has gone wrong over here. Good thing is there's undo. All right. So what you want to do is kind of try this a few times and then figure out what it is. So I'm going to come back over here and always keep track of what is going on. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to now try to click over here. Yep. Discard changes. I'm going to click back. Oh, nope, there. End conversation, end with survey, save it. I'm going to click over here, click on that. And we'll go back over here. There we go. So I know I went a little too fast. What you want to do is always remember where the loop should start, which in our case was right down over here. That yes, I gotta change that. That the user says that no, the user still needs more information, so I'm going to loop it back. So looping it back is you got to click on it, click on the plus, and then the plus changes to the dot. Click on the dot. That is your start. Once you've said that this is where my loop starts, and I want to go back to right over here, and you got to click it. It takes a little getting used to. I'll be honest over there. And I've also told the product group is that the plus is not very intuitive. I need a way, because you click on plus and the dot shows up over there. Maybe it's just me as a beginner trying to understand this, and I think as more you play with it, the more you get it understand and get used to it. But just keep that in mind, is that 2 things. Sometimes, usually it happens to be the first time, is when you click on it and then you click. When you do the start click and then you come up over here, you may not always get the correct loop. If that happens, just go and do an undo and then go back over here. Other thing is leverage this minimize over here. It really helps, because I was scrolling up and down, but this could actually help. So let's actually pause over here and do a test, right? Because this is a good place to kind of show you the key things. I wanted to actually show you things such as what was the message box we added. Let's increase that a little bit. And over here also you can see it kind of gives you a nice, almost like a Visio map type design. So over here you get a quick overall view of, okay, this is basically the overview of what my logic looks like, and it's pretty accurate. If you see over here, there were the 4 different questions, so it gave you 4 different things. Pretty accurate over here, and you can move up and down pretty fast as well. All right. So key things in this demo I wanted to show you were such a things as just what were the triggers we did. We did some triggers. We actually started a new topic. In the topic, we added some triggers over here. Immediately after that, we put in a message. Then in the message, we actually added a question, showed you how to do conditions, showed you about the variable as well. And then I also went and showed you how we added some more conditions, how when you've done a couple of sections over there, you can tie them together back in over here, because that's not very intuitive, but I kind of showed you how to do that. And then we went ahead and published it. So let's now do a test, okay? I want to understand. So I'm coming into now over here, and that's the option, test your bot. So the bot testing chat is right there. It's in there. You don't have to go somewhere else. You don't have to click a URL. You just directly come over here and you do the testing. So what I'm going to do is start with, hi there. And remember, there were those other topics, those 5 and those 8, which are already there out of the box. And this is basically what happens over there. So I intentionally did that with the hi there because the out of the box response is, hey, I'm a virtual agent. Let me zoom in a little bit. Hey, I'm a virtual agent. I can help you with account questions, orders, stores, information, and more. That's not what we want. So let's go and change, even though it's a default setting over there out of the box, we need to modify that for our need. And that system topics is over here. It's in the greetings. So I come over here. These are the triggers. Go to the authoring of the canvas. And in the authoring of the canvas, I'm going to come to this section, which is just a message. It says, I can help you with COVID-19 related questions. See, this is what I really like about PVA, is that it gives you a variety of out of the box, all these triggers and topics and everything, but it also gives you the flexibility to go and modify it. This did not exist in Q&A. So I personally am a big fan of this. All right, let's go back to the previous topic over here, what to do if I'm sick. Go to the authoring canvas, and let's continue with our testing. And when I do a testing, it actually even shows you how, in which section all these things are moving around. And that's pretty slick. So I'm going to start with hi there. We already did the hi. I'll show you hi there. Because now you will see how the change shows up over here. I'm a virtual agent. I can help you with the COVID-19 related questions. So how can I help you today? And now I am going to say, now watch what I'm typing. It says, I might have caught COVID-19. I might have caught, let's say, coronavirus. If I can spell virus. Now, check out the triggers. We did not put in a single trigger, which was that way. It says, I might have caught coronavirus. We don't have a 1-to-1 trigger like that. So I'm just going to see what happens. All right, went down and clicked it. And did you see what happened? Is that the system, Power Virtual Agent, is so smart that even though our triggers do not one-on-one match with what it is still smart enough to know that, hey, it still falls in this what to do if you're a sick topic. So I'm going to go ahead and give with that next information over here. This is what I like about Power Virtual Agent, is that I don't have to train this bot like it's a fresh bot system. I got to teach it every single thing. It's just give it the bare essentials. Like, like it said, trigger faces need to be between 5 and 10. We just gave it 8, and we gave it what we as human beings decide as triggers. But even though the end user came up with a completely different trigger question, the bot was still smart enough to understand that. Now that I'm kind of spending time showing this to you, you should start understanding the importance and the beauty of the system over here. Second thing is, while we are testing it, you can actually see that it's flowing through. So it's even telling you right now that, hey, you went ahead and finished this step off, you went ahead and finished this step off. Right now you are in this step over here. And that's why I had to know what to do if you're sick or caring from home. Now, if you remember, we focused only on the caring from home. That's why I'm going to click on this button over here. So it's caring for yourself. So do you initially the same thing. So you need to do the following, all of these things over there, which we copied and pasted. But we're going to go and says, do you need more information? And I'm going to say, yeah, I do need more information. And then the next set of informations are again more buttons. These are the same ones that we added over here. Cover your coughs and sneezes. See, it shows that I went ahead and this is the point that we are stuck away. I mean, we are here after the bot answered me some questions. It came back and asked us, did this answer your question? Now, for the sake of the testing to see if the loop works, I'm going to say no. And then it went up. If you notice over here how the magic was happening, it scrolled back up again to show me the loop. I mean, I get tickled every time I use this because it's the testing and the logic is so intuitive. It is actually telling me what is going on. And the reason I like it is not so much because it just looks cool, but it's already helping me to understand that if it's not working the way it should work, there is the mix up in my logic. Where do I need to go and change it? And right at that step, I can literally just go ahead and hit reset and change it right there. So I'm going to now say what to if I'm sick. Comes back over here. Oh, we had a little issue with that, but that's fine. That's just in the testing side. So remember, the flow side, the flow was very intuitive. It shows you what's going on. And then at certain point, if you're not sure what's going on, you can always just go ahead and reset that over here. So I just kind of want to pause over here and show you, just an overview of what we did again in the bot. We spent, literally all of 45 minutes, maybe even less, building a pretty good, robust bot. I mean, you could add your own text and flavor to it, but this was already a very robust bot. And what you can do is, you can go ahead and put it in right here. You have options to do it in channels. In channels, you can actually go and put it in a demo side. In the demo side, you can go ahead and put in any of the information that you want. Says, this is a bot for COVID-19. I'm going to copy this, and now you can go ahead and paste it over here, and you can start testing that. Try out the new bot. And I can do the same thing. It says, help, I'm sick. Let's see if the bot recognizes that. And this says to use bot publish. Oh, missed a step over there. It says to use this bot, publish it in Power Virtual Agents. I'm glad I did that, because in order for any of this to work, you've got to first publish it. You've got to publish it at least once. I published it over here. It's publishing. It's all getting packaged. It's getting saved in the right place. So now if I try it again, help, I'm sick, the bot will be fully functional over there. See, perfect. Help, I'm sick, the same process going on over there. That's one thing. You have the options to go ahead and connect it to different ones over here. In my the video in my in fact, the next series of video that I'm coming out is I'm going to walk you through how you can go ahead and put that into Teams. And there's a way to go ahead and build a connection for that and publishing it, and I'll walk you through that over there. There are other options available. These are all the options to build a chatbot system. To either use the direct line of speech. Twilio is a texting SMS system over there. You can build a bot with that for both asking the questions and responding back, and then email communications over there as well. You've got quite a few options over there. So now that you've seen the basic bot, you understand how to build a bot. The downside of this bot over here is that it's all static and hard-coded text, right? The next bot that I want to show you is actually something that I've already pre-built, but I'll still walk you through that. And this is the bot. I was actually picked to speak on this topic at the SharePoint conference North America, but now that the conference has been moved, I'll still show you the demo. So what I did was actually build a bot system where you can go ahead and talk to the bot asking about the conference, specifically about the sessions. And what I did was in the sessions, I've gone ahead and created my bot. In fact, over here, I've got different section environments over here. I've got one for environment sessions. I bet you, if Andy, if you're watching this, you would love this bot, Jarvis over here. So anyway, I call this as environment sessions over here. This is where I am, and the sessions one is the one that I've created, and we can go and see what are the triggers over here. Have a question regarding the sessions. I have a question regarding the speakers. I went ahead and put in a lot more, phrases and made it as diverse as possible. And now you will actually see something different in this logic over here. Initially, this all looks the same. In fact, the loop coming back is very similar to what we just built over here. There's one big difference you will see over here is I am actually taking a question. I'm not taking any multiple choice selections. I'm actually taking a response, because let's actually look at this. The user is coming in and is going to say, hey, any of the triggers. Like, hey, I'm looking for something about a sessions or the speakers or about this conference. Either one of them. It's asking if it wants to search for a session based on the session name or the session type, or by the speaker name. So that's what it is. The first message is, hi there, looks like you need some assistance to either pick a session or a speaker. I can help. And the next thing I do is pick one. So the person will come in and pick the speaker or a session. And then depending on whichever one is selected, if it is a speaker, I'm asking the user is that, can you give me the speaker's first or last name? Just type it in. And whatever is typed in is actually sent to a flow. And now flow is, from here on, flow does all the remaining amount of work, because if you notice, everything else is all going to be the same. It's going to go ahead and take the data, it's going to dump it in, show the user all the information that it has, so on and so forth. And so the bot and its framework and its logic is fully made. Now, all I as an end user have to do is I just got to come to my place, and this is the entity. I've actually called it as where am I? Event sessions. Now, this is an entity that I made. I made it in the same environment over here. I'll zoom in a little bit more. And that's all it is the entity. These are the fields. I went and put in the session, event name, I went and put in date and time, so on and so forth. In fact, if you go over here to data, all fields. Hey, Corey, can you once again check? Because I got that bad network quality.
Yep, you're there.
All right, good there. Cool. Okay, so yeah, in my data over here, I've already gone ahead and pre-populated data. This is now where I'll be doing all my work. The flow, the Power Automate, its logic and everything, its authoring is all done. It's all good. I don't have to go and do the adding the information over there like we just saw in the first demo, because there's no static data. All that, if I'm putting in a speaker's name, that the PVA kicks off a flow. And that flow is just coming and saying, okay, based on the session name, I'm going to search in this CDS entity over here. Or if it was a speaker name, they're going to come over here and search all of these speaker names over here, so like that, and it'll go and send that back. So once now moving forward, all we have to do is basically come over here, edit in data in Excel. And for any of those who are seeing this the first time, this is basically how you do editing in bulk for CDS. I love that this add-in is already there. I got to sign that in, so I'm going to put in my username and password. Excuse me. It's already there. Oh, actually, it's not that one. It is. Let me make sure. Yeah. Oh no, this is a different one. Yeah, it is that one. All right, I'm gonna say no for now. Went to the authentication, went in, goes ahead, and it's filling, synchronizing and retrieving the metadata from the CDS over here, and it populates it. I literally love this CDS entity over here, because I can do changes in bulk. I can just go ahead and create the entities in the entity in CDS, and then I can go ahead and add the data over here in bulk. Now I know if there's a bunch of SharePoint people over here, they might be saying, Daniel, I've seen this before. I mean, we did this for how many years now? We would go ahead and put all the data in Excel, and from Excel I'd publish it and go straight to a SharePoint list. It's the exact same concept, except that in this case, you've already built the list, and now you've just made that direct connection over there. So this is better for sure, but the concept is still the same. So for most of you, this might actually not be very new. Therefore, it's easier for you to adopt. So over here, this is basically how I added all the data, and this is where I come and do all the bulk work as well. I went ahead and added the session names. I went ahead and then put in what is the date and time. Now, even though the date and time formula looks a little different, when I click on it, it actually goes ahead and provides me this over here. So I can actually do, select the date over here. I can go ahead and put in the time over there, what type of session it is, who is the speaker, what is the topic. So anytime in the bot now when I'm chatting, I'm asking for, here is the speaker name. The flow is going to search through this over here. If I go ahead and put in, what is the title, then it's going to actually go and search the session column over here. That's basically, how it works over there. Excuse me. So this is the place, and this is what takes it to the next level of your bot making system, because it's dynamic. Now, the bot is good. The logic of the bot is good, which means even if you say had a bot maker, a power user who's good at making bots, let him or her go ahead and make the bot for you, and you're good. But now you, as the line of business or whoever it is, you just need to come and focus on this one there. Sessions, new sessions come in, go and add it over here. Sessions need to be changed, go ahead and change it over here. The bot's already good, it's already functioning, and this is the beauty of a dynamic system over here. So I'm going to keep this open because there's a little bit of a, I'm going to show you a little trick over here. It's not a trick, a demo basically. So let's do a test. Let's go now into our bot. And we can actually even come over here. We can click on channels. Let's go to the demo website. Let's make it look a little bit nicer. Copy that. I could run it over here. You know what? Let me come back to this later. I want to actually show it to over here because that way you can actually see the logic of the bot as well. Topics. We did the sessions. Go to authoring. Okay, so I'm going to start with, I'm just going to say question. Question about speakers. All right, so it says, looks like you need some assistance. It says, can you give me? Let me make this a little bigger. Can you give me the speaker's first or last name? Now that's the beauty of it, is I don't have to always start with the first name, because that's the way the bot system works. No, it's the flow is so good that it is actually able to say, let's give me a name, first name, last name, just give me a name. And so just to make sure I don't make any mistakes over here, I'm going to come in and intentionally pick, see what the speakers are over here. I'm going to make it really difficult. So we've got, all right, April Dunham. She's my favorite, power addict. So I'm going to say April, but I'm just going to put in her last name, D-U-N. All right. Let's see how good the bot works. So I send the information. Remember over here, it ran. It's running and running. Went ahead and ran the speaker information flow, and then it got something. It went ahead and provided that information over here. And there it is. The bot says, "Here's what I found. The SharePoint list the SharePoint list face list is a session name. It's a type breakout session, and the speaker is April Dunham." Remember, all I put in was done. D-U-N. It was smart enough to go in, search, and it knew because I asked for a speaker name, so it ran the speaker flow. But next time it says, "Do I have another question?" I would say yes, and I'm going to now search based on the speaker. I did speaker again. Let's say, let's do April again. Okay, same one came back. I'm going to say, "Do you have another question?" Yes. I'm going to now do a session, and let's look at I'm trying to get a complicated session name or something interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make it, I see multiple sessions about 365. So what I'm going to say is, are you particular in any, are you interested in any session? I'm just going to say Microsoft 365. All right, 365. And just to make sure it's not case sensitive, I did Microsoft 365. It's going ahead and running a flow, and it says, "Here's what I found." So I wanted to prove this to you, that it can't only pull in one batch, like it's searching. So it's searching over here, and it doesn't just pull in the first one it finds. It goes through and searches the entire entity over here, and finds anything that matched with Microsoft 365. It went ahead and pulled all of that over here. That's basically how powerful it is over here. So I'm going to say, "Have another question?" I'm going to say no. Did that answer your questions? Yes. Great, please rate to air. Thanks for your feedback. I'm like, no. Can I help anything else? No, thanks. I'm just going to say bye. All right. Let's just spend a few minutes looking at the flow, because I know it's at 7:10, so we're getting close. And I have this other things I want to focus on. All right. So some new things have come ever since I started playing with this. I noticed all these new things coming over here. First thing is, when you are building a flow for this, okay, you got to first make sure it's in the same environment, but the flows and the entities have to be built as a solution. Now, for some of you, this is a solution is a new term. The quick 30,000 foot of solution is it's a package. The Power Automate has a new system called Solutions, where you package everything: entities, Power Automate. The Power Automate flows, Power Apps, everything. You can package that in as a solution, and then you can take that solution and deploy it across different environments, across different tenants. That's the functionality. It makes it easier over there. So when they were building the PVA, they already skipped the entire process of adding it separately, building a flow, then adding it into a solution. They said we're just going to go ahead and add it in as a solution. So now I come into my solutions, and I've already got a solution that I'd made, which was event sessions. So I click on event sessions, and these are my the flows that I have. So I've got two. I call them as version 1 and version 2. So let's take a look at the speaker name, because both are almost the same. So I'm going to click over here, and when I click on it, it opens up the flow. And as you can notice, these just ran. See, 2 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago. Let's spend a few minutes looking at the flow. All right, so it has an initial trigger and it has a response back over here. So what in Power Virtual Agents, what it is doing is it's getting the speakers, whatever is the name I'm getting from the speaker, I just call that and assign it to a variable called speaker received. That's why I just called it speaker rec. Then I'm going ahead and I'm getting a list of all that entities that I got over there. But I'm doing two things. One thing is I'm filtering it. I'm making sure that this name that I got, that's the only filter that I'm doing. So I'm not getting all the data from that list, because that's just too much data. I just want to get filtered data from that list. Now this is very important. Filter query is a very important thing, because this is what's called as a server-side filter. And it's very important from performance standpoint, and very important also from getting just limited data. Because think about it, if you had 2,000 sessions over there, I'm going to pull all 2,000 of them, and then once it's in flow, I'm going to go ahead and then look through it. I don't want to do that. I'm doing what's called as a server-side filtering. So I'm going straight to this, the CDS entity somewhere in this magical cloud server, and before I get the data, I'm only getting filtered data. And so that's the magic that I'm doing. I'm only getting all the data that contains the speaker name that I have, that the user put in over there. The other thing is I'm making sure that the date and time is greater than what is now, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but just keep that in mind over here. After that, I just go ahead and make sure that every time it's going through a loop, and this is basically what it is, because remember when I did that Microsoft 365, there were a bunch of them that it pulled in. So it's going ahead, if there's more than one, it goes ahead and assigns it to this variable using a loop, and then after, if everything is good, it will go ahead and it actually checks to see if it is empty, which means if it's gone ahead and filled up any of the information, and if it is empty, then send the empty. And then if there's got a speaker over there, then send the speaker. That's basically how it is. And I know there's a little bit more involved in the flow side. The logic over here. What you need to take away is that the flow is where all the magic is happening, and then the flow is constant. The Power Automate is constant. The magic is all. The only work that needs to be done is the actual static data of the sessions and everything. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was, right. So when we go back to the Power Virtual Agents over here, I want to spend a little bit more time just showing you this one little enhancement. So remember in the flow side, when I talked about if it is empty, which means there is no other flow, then here's what happens. There's a condition that I've added, that if that variable, see that speaker return, if it returns something which is empty, then just say, it's possible that the speaker has no more sessions left to deliver, or just let's be sure to try this again, and it goes through there. So the empty, putting that empty is just to make sure that, hey, tried it, but send me that empty, because the empty is what I'm going to look up over here in my conditions over there. The other fun thing I want to show you is, if you remember back over here in the edit over here, in this filter that we are doing, I said that make sure that the date and time is greater than now. So let's play with that a little bit. All right, and that's the last thing we'll do. So I come over here, come over here, and I'm going to intentionally, I put all of these as future ones. That's like, all of them as if the sessions are starting tomorrow. But I'm going to go ahead and actually, for some of these, let's say for, let's actually just pick April's. Yeah, April's session, I'm going to say was actually say today, and it was at 2 p.m. today. Or let's even make that as 10 a.m. Okay, it was today at 10 a.m. which means the session is over. So I'm going to hit save. Here's another common thing. People hit save and they expect the CDS to be updated. That's not how it works. You got to click that publish over here. So it's publishing, processing, and it's done. So if I now go back to the CDS over here, and if I go ahead and hit refresh data, if you look for April and her session here, the date is today at 11:15 because of the time lag change. But now let's go and test that over here, right? Go back over here and it says, hi there. Oh, we can reset it, or we can actually test that over here. Hi there. Hi there, sending. Like to speak, SharePoint conference. Looking for a session. A session of a speaker. Yep, I'm going to say April. Now remember, April, her session is already completed. And it says, here's what I found. It's empty. What happened was it basically said that in this case, there was no session, so it's asking me to have another one over here. There's a little bit of a hiccup in my flow over here. Let's actually try it based on have another question. Let me try that. Let's do session. And what was her session information? Because I want to show you the finished product. Quickly test. Her session was SharePoint list. Any sessions in particular? Says SharePoint list. Again, it's trying to look for SharePoint list. Session's already over, and it came back. Here's what I found. It's empty. What it should have done, I have no clue why my logic didn't work away. It should have actually come back, and if it is empty, then it should go ahead and actually do saying that I can't find that session. So let's go ahead and try that again. It should actually do this. Maybe let's just try that over here. I'm just going to see. I'm looking for a session. SharePoint list. See, it worked over here. It says, it's possible no more sessions remain on this topic. Just to be sure, let's try this again. So from here, it worked. For some reason, we might have potentially found a bug too. I don't know, but from this demo side, it didn't have the updated flow. But when we actually did it from this test over here, testing the bot, it worked because it knew that when it went and did a search for April's session or that session was already passed. That's why the now functionality, I was doing that comparison in the flow with UTC now. That session was in the past, and I'm only looking for sessions which are greater than now. And so therefore the filter works. So this is actually, I know it's a pretty advanced, in a middle to advanced level type of flow, but I just wanted to kind of demonstrate that to you over there. Okay, so showed you a lot. I want to jump in and finish off the slide deck because there's some questions over here. Obviously the one that was on licensing. So we built our first bot together. Now, question is, what can PVA not do? Approach of our agents not do. And here's what it cannot do right now. It cannot do any other languages. It only does English. I am very curious to see what is going to be the outcome for this because I've already seen questions being asked about this in the community. If you go to the Power Apps, Power Users community, I've seen questions come up over there. So again, MBAS, we'll find out. There is no option to import or export bots, and that was the question that was asked over there. I can't import it as a zip, export it as a zip file from one environment or one tenant and put it. We don't have that functioning right now. You cannot do images and videos in chatbots. Text was one of the big ones over there. You can go ahead and put in numerical values over there, but this functionality is basically not available. And then the last one being over here was that you don't have the option for multiple users to edit the same bot. You can only have one person editing the bot one at a time over there. Couple of other things I wanted to show you was, when I say that there was improvements over here, this has only been out. Okay, it was announced in October. So it's been out for about 5 months or so. I personally have played with it for 3 solid months. When I built my first bot, this is how it was. What you would have to do is actually in the PVA section over there, that's where you say, I want to build a flow. And it'll automatically come to Power Automate, and it'll automatically build the flows for you. And it automatically went and created this HTTP request. It would do that for you to make it easier, because literally that's what you're doing, is you're creating an HTTP request. There were two flaws with that. First of all, if you would open up that HTTP request, there was a big code, like a jQuery type of a REST API query over there. Even though it automatically created that for you, you better not touch it, because that will break it. Also, the response back to Power Virtual Agents was a bit interesting, because if you had more than one response going, if you had only one response going, then you would have to come in, because this out of the box was built to send two responses back. So you would need to understand that JSON a little bit to know where I can either comment out the second response or delete it. So it was a little bit tedious, but I in fact noticed this about a month ago, that they changed it. This is what it looks like right now, and you saw that when I was in the demo over there, is that now I can actually build the bot in build the flow, the Power Automate flow directly in that solution, and build it over here. So I don't have to go into the Power PVA and it create my HTTP request, everything. It already has a trigger and a response, and you can do all the other stuff. This is basically what it would look like before. When I would create that in the past, when I was creating the Power Automate flow, it would automatically go ahead and create that JSON for you. It would automatically go ahead and create that response for you. It was a little messy, I'll admit. But this is what it looks like right now. Clean and very easy to understand. So I kind of wanted to talk about that. All right, last piece is a topic I hate, but I got to answer that because it's important. Important licensing information to consider. So first, right out of the box, this is the licensing option right now available for Power Virtual Agents. Right off the bat, even tell you some of the questions that I've had. First question, common question. Hey, Daniel, Christian, I've got E3, E5 license over there. I'm not going to save my data in CDS. I'm actually going to save it in SharePoint lists. Do I need to pay that 1,000? The answer is yes, you still need to pay that 1,000 over there. And here, this is why, because regardless of what data source you're saving it in, you're getting charged for see, that's what it is. The flows will be unlimited, only applicable for flows triggered from the Power Virtual Agents. So if that flow is triggered from that Power Virtual Agent, which is how I showed you the two examples, you are going to get charged for that $1,000 for the licenses over there. The good thing is that there is no limit. It's unlimited over there, and you're allowed. When I say unlimited, it's unlimited number of flows. You're still paying 1,000 for that, 2,000 calls minimum. And then you've got all this data storage capacity over here. Now, this is pretty common for any CDS entity. The capacity, you get 10 gigs, file storage, you get 20 gigs, log capacity 2 gigs. This is pretty normal. But I want to kind of focus a little bit more on that fine print which was there in the licensing, is that you're allowed, excuse me. You're allowed those 2,000 chat sessions, and each chat session is basically a whole discussion that is going on. So an example I tell people is that if you're having a session for a day, like a whole chat going back and forth for a day, person comes in, asks a whole bunch of questions, excuse me, then that is still counted as one session over there. So kind of keep that in mind over here. Other important thing is that there is no capacity. No carryover of your sessions like we have on our cell phone. Minutes and counts. There is no carryover. So each month, 2,000 is what you had, and you get charged $1,000 for that. If you don't use that month, those $2,000 get waived. 2,000 calls get waived away. It starts another fresh month. It's kind of key important things over there. So all in all, hopefully this was helpful, because that was the only two things actually I wanted to cover out on the licensing pieces. Besides the fact that there's cost associated with it, it's these fine prints that I wanted to talk about. Is that with those 2,000, you can make unlimited number of flows for each of the session that you're happening. And then the key thing over there is that these are the criteria for each session. Is that when all of the users' questions are answered, or when a customer intentionally ends or closes a chat session, or when a bot is unable to answer enough and escalates that to a live agent, that's considered as a scenario for a completed session. And then there's no carryover of the how many sessions you had from. It's a month-to-month thing. There's no carryover that. So that is all that I had for today.
Hey, Daniel.
Yeah.
We've got 3 questions.
Go for it.
So does the new insider risk management solution know anything about these bots are doing? I'm going to go with we don't know right now.
We don't know right now, yeah. It is
Yep,
too
so
new. It's only...
we'll look into that. I've already posted some questions internally at Microsoft to see if I can get some answers around that.
Cool.
Same goes for the second question we had, which is if sensitive information is sent to a bot, will anyone know? Again, I've got a question in for that one as well. You know, I'd like to imagine that we're going to be able to capture that info. I think it's just going to depend on how we can tie back into the Office 365 services that can track that. And then there was another question, does it parse keywords from phrases?
It does, and that's why if you notice the example that I gave was that I was able to go ahead and put in, you know, all these keywords over there. And in fact, one thing that I should show you is the analytics piece over here. In the analytics, it's actually smart enough to even tell you in the sessions, yeah, there's no sessions for download. Yeah, the satisfaction rate over there, the help. Now I'm trying to find where was the other one. I guess I didn't find it over here, but it is able to see which are those main triggers that are there. And if I understand the question correctly, think about how I was putting those triggers. You know, I put in a diverse variety of them, but when I was actually using the bot, I didn't type in the exact triggers. It is smart enough to know that what the end user is typing in is actually a combination or somewhere close to that triggers that the Daniel's already put in over there. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So all in all, this was basically, you know, this was actually a good thorough session because I showed you a beginner level one that we built, just static text. And then I also showed you, you know, how we were able to leverage the Power Automate over there. A really good understanding on that. If you're interested, you know, I've got the videos of both of them in my channel over there. But go ahead and play around with it. And playing around means that when I showed you how to do that, is that in your own tenant, or if you have a dev tenant, keep that open and then go to Power Virtual Agent. You can just start creating a test one over there. And that you don't get charged for anything. You may have a few performance hits over there, but you can start playing with it at least over there. And then, you know, once you're comfortable with it, you know, do those sessions. There were 4 lessons. Play with those. Take a look at that's how I did with some reverse engineering. But all in all, I was pretty excited about this. Again, as you know, my history with Q&A and Lewis, this was definitely a breath of fresh air because it's so much more easier and intuitive of that. And that's all I have.
Great. Thank you, Daniel, for the time and the awesome presentation. Hopefully everybody got some good value out of this. Again, just to reiterate, we're going to, within a couple of days, we'll have this posted to our new YouTube channel. We'll also post it to our Yammer network as well for you to review once again. So thanks again, Daniel, for the time, and appreciate it. Everybody have a good, safe work from home experience. Thanks, everybody.